right, everyone, welcome back. I'm Stephen Harrell with Tiny House Listings, and I'm out here in my off-grid property here in eastern North Carolina. A little over 3 acres. I bought this land back in 2013. I bought the 3 acres for right around $2,000. It was $2,000. And when I bought it originally, it was just a big patch of big patch of woods that had been logged out maybe 20 years ago. And so a lot of the pines have grown back up, and it's definitely been overgrown. And so I've been busy out here thinning some of the woods, trying to get it to where it's healthy and it can breathe again, because the land was not in a natural state in the first place when I bought it. So the last 7 years, I've been kind of slowly getting this place ready for just to come out here and enjoy myself, and also if something ever were to happen, I'd be kind of prepared. And lately, that's kind of what we've been seeing. A lot of people aren't in that situation where they're not prepared. And so that's kind of just what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, is being prepared financially, mostly financially, because we live in a financial planet. We live in a situation where finances are everything. That's the difference between the haves and the have-nots. It's important to set yourself up to where you have money. And I think one way, what we're seeing now is a lot of people, businesses already just in a few weeks going belly up. You know, the airline industry. It goes to show you how credit-based things are. Most people and businesses alike, entities, are very credit-based. So they're able to run their business strictly or almost exclusively on the ability to borrow. And so you can see if something within just a matter of weeks runs out of cash on hand. These are businesses that have been in business for decades, and they're operating so thinly that just a few small hiccups, they're not allowed to stay in the game, stay in the business, and not a good way to operate. And unfortunately, people do the exact same thing. Not to preach, but I mean, the average person. I read what was it the other day? If you have no debt and you have $500 in your pocket or in the bank, you're worth more than, I say it's the bottom 15 million Americans combined. So you have more net worth than 15 million Americans combined. To me, that's amazing. Reminds me when I used to be in college, I went to UNC Chapel Hill. And when you go out there, you know, in the little area where people have lunch and stuff, those booths out there, Capital One booths, where they would give you like a free Capital One shirt. So people would go up to get the shirt, and then before you know it, at 18 years old, they've already started credit cards and things like that. Don't get me wrong, credit has its place. It allows you to do things, if you're smart, that you otherwise couldn't, to get a foothold, build yourself a small home, buy yourself a home. A lot of people are using credit to purchase a tiny house, which is a means to an end. That's a whole totally different video. But it's obviously, to me, it feels like this whole coronavirus thing that's happening, and people, I read another stat where 1/3 of Americans are going to be unemployed after all this. I don't know if that's true, but it already looks like that's starting to happen. I know quite a few people already that have lost their jobs. So it just feels like hopefully there's a paradigm shift going here in the way people look at money and debt and credit, and also just the overall way they live. I know, what was it, in the early 2000s, like gas was what, $3.50, $4 a gallon, and I know it's gone up a few times that high since then. But as soon as it dropped down, what would people do? They'd go out and buy a big, huge SUV, knowing consciously or subconsciously that the price of gas is going to go back up while you still own that thing. So people, unfortunately, do tend to have a very short-term memory when it comes to the patterns of things, right? And I know there's very few people alive who've been through something like what we're going through now, that we're seeing such a major shift. But I think if anything, the people who come out of this okay at the end, which most of us are, to some degree, will fundamentally look at the way they handle expenses and what they consider needs and wants, right? And just because right now those two things are completely skewed. Most people have no financial responsibility, and I'm not here to preach, but it'd be great to see if people would kind of rethink a lot of things, the way they handle cash, the way they handle credit, the way they look at what their house should look like. People who spend 30 years paying for a house should re-examine what they consider a house to be, right? To me, in my opinion, if you're willing to pay 30 years for a house, you've placed too much emphasis on what a house should be. It needs to come down way, way, way farther. If anything, I'd love to see the mortgage industry, I won't say go belly up, but come into a position where they can't loan people as much as they are, right? Strictly because people don't have the finances or whatever it is. It feels like to me, people fundamentally are going to remember this event, and at least a larger portion of people, and realize that like they can't get themselves in the situation again. They need money on hand. They need to own more things that they actually own, that not that the bank owns and gave them money to lend it, essentially, whether it's a car, a house, or whatnot. We have seen a huge uptick at tiny house listings of people who wanting to purchase a tiny house, and so we help them get in tiny houses every single day. And so I think people have a lot of time sitting at home that are on lockdown. North Carolina's on lockdown right now. Out here, you really can't feel it or even see it. I haven't even been out on the roads since the lockdown started. But I think people out here on this piece of property, there's 3 acres, and myself, I have a cabin here, and my daughter stays out here with me 50% of the time. And my father lives further up on the property in his tiny house. So it's a multi-generational family, 3 generations. And I think it'd be interesting to see people kind of get back to that type of situation, or co-own land with a friend or a family member or something to split resources. I know I'm kind of rambling on this video, I'm all over the place, but the main general theme is it'd be really great, and I think that's what's about to happen, to see people downsize in a major way, to be able to save more of their money. So when something like this does happen, they can kind of ride the tide, right? Or they're less affected by it. Out here, I can tell no difference, right? In terms of what's going on out there in the world. Other than I will say, my brother and his entire family, they got coronavirus while he's stationed in Germany. And thank goodness they had a pretty mild case of it, because they're very healthy people and did everything that they were supposed to do. They quarantined themselves, took all the medicine, got plenty of rest, lots of water, all that. But out here it's really, I mean, you know, we collect sun for our energy, we collect rain for our water. So when it's raining, it's a good day. When it's sunny, it's a good day out here. I heat myself and my family with wood, so that's free. Plenty of it around here to harvest. What's great about tiny houses is that the threshold for entry, the cost of entry to get into tiny house is much lower. You can get a personal loan, you can save up money for a little while, you can sell off all your stuff and already be well on your way. And when you do get in there, you can go solar, you can go off-grid for much cheaper. I know people that own off-grid solutions, solar for their huge homes, and it costs, just the off-grid, the solar equipment costs more than a tiny house. To be able to move into a tiny house for the average person is much, much easier than moving into a regular house. Now, if you want to live like this, like I live out here, you're going to have to be willing to have some compromises. For example, the closest grocery store is about 15 minutes away. The closest major city is about 30 minutes away. And just being able to hop in your car and go to a restaurant is not feasible. You're not going to be able to do that unless if you do it, you're willing to, you know, make it an hour-long trip to get there and back in terms of travel. For me, that's not a big deal. I have everything I need out here. So those are just some of the things you have to look at if you want to live this lifestyle. But again, I feel like personally, and I'd be interested to see what all you think down in the comments below. Do you think there's a major shift that's about to happen up from this, like a generational shift to where people look at consumerism and capitalism and credit and the way they manage and handle their expenses? Do you think there's a fundamental shift that's about to occur from all of this, where people will finally learn a lesson, those that haven't already, that you need to seriously rethink what spending your money on looks like? So that's all I have for you. I wanted to sit down and talk about how the being debt free or close to debt free as possible and as self-reliant as possible, and having a good firm handle on your finances is a very, very good idea. So thank you for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next video. Oh, and Tiny House Listings just started building tiny houses, some of the most affordable on the market. So if you're interested, email us at support@tinyhouselistings.com. But again, thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay debt free. Talk to you soon. See you on the next video.